Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to The Eagle's Nest, the audio retelling of the great book by Charlie Suprasinski titled Soaring with the Eagles, the Copper Peak Story. And we are in episode number 22, which is 1982, and things are getting a little bit difficult for the Copper Peak Board. The Reagan administration was in power and was desirous of clearing off the many loans the federal government had off their books. The ski club was obviously in default on their loan, as only a few payments had been made in the early 1970s. There is no evidence in the past 10 years of any attempt by the ski club board to make the annual payment of some $15,000 on the $250,000 3 3/8% loan. It is probably safe to say that many who served on the ski club board in that time span were unaware of the government note. President LeBlanc reported on the fact that Tom Lundeen, treasurer of the club, received a call from the EDA that they want payment for the slide to take it off the books completely. Discussion followed on how much money should be offered to the EDA, and it was decided to try and see if it would be possible to have it taken off the books for $1. If a governmental agency would be willing to take responsibility for the complex, this seemed to make sense. It was discussed whether the agency should be Gogebic County or Ironwood Township. The financial condition of the Gogebic Range Ski Club was precarious. An element of frustration was permeating the corporation. A discussion centered on the possibility of selling 2 parcels of land to raise some money to pay bills. Another idea was to find out other ways to get out of the financial crisis that the board was in. In an attempt to find their way out of the financial crisis, the Gogebic Range Ski Club Board discussed several options, including the possibility of generating greater income for a meet by seeking more lucrative TV contracts, by starting a professional ski jumping circuit. None of these suggestions went anywhere. The one consistent revenue stream of the ski club had been the summer chairlift and elevator ride for tourists. Nearly 8,000 were coming each season to see and enjoy the Copper Peak experience. Liability insurance was becoming more expensive, and faced with the possibility of having to hire 6 to 9 employees during the summer, many board members felt it was uneconomical to operate the chairlift during the summer of 1982. 1983 came up pretty fast. Nearly a year had passed since the club had been first notified to develop a plan for the retiring of the note with the federal government. Nothing concrete was done to satisfy the concerns of the EDA in that time frame. And not so surprisingly, the EDA's intentions were highlighted in the Daily Globe article of March 1st, 1983. The headlines read, EDA calls note on Peak Slide. Japanese, Russians ready to replace Copper Peak facility. Copper Peak will cease to exist and will be replaced by a site in Russia or Japan unless the U.S. government steps in. Tom LeBlanc told the board Monday a $230,000 loan from the EDA must be paid off soon, or the hill and slide will be put out on bids. Can you imagine that? The notification to foreclose by the EDA included an indication of the seriousness of the issue. There appeared to be some room to work out an agreement, however, to restructure the loan. Representatives from the ski club will travel to Washington, D.C. in an effort to save the Copper Peak ski flying facility. U.S. Representative Bob Davis from Gaylord told Tom LeBlanc, Jim Somerville, and Lino Slanzi that he would need their assistance in resolving the problem of a federal loan of $235,000. The EDA notified Copper Peak officials the loan must be repaid in full within 3 years, or the ski flying facility will be auctioned off to the highest bidder. The work of Representative Bob Davis played a key role in helping to define the parameters upon which a settlement could be reached to restructure the note, as described in the Daily Globe on April 1st of '83. EDA proposal Ski Corporation action is a reasonable solution. At a recent meeting in Washington, D.C. between Tom LeBlond, EDA officials, and Representative Bob Davis of Gaylord, the EDA indicated it could not forgive the $248,000 loan granted Copper Peak. However, if interest on the loan could be paid, the government could restructure the loan. The EDA asked that the ski club give some indication that it would attempt to raise funds sufficient to make interest payments of $8,400 a year. Following the Washington meeting, the ski club board of directors approved application for meets in 1984 and 1985 and indicated it would plan fundraising efforts to raise enough to make interest payments. The ski club was pinning its hopes to raise money for the interest payments by sponsoring ski flying meets. The reality of the situation was that none of the 7 sponsored meets in the past earned a significant profit. Meet expenses were always very high, particularly for hill preparation and paying the expenses of competitors. The only consistent revenue stream of the ski club was the summer operation, and with proper management could be the source for consistent interest payments. The dilemma of the corporation was highlighted with this headline in the Daily Globe. The headline read, "Ski Corporation Can't Stop Foreclosure at Copper Peak." The ski club is unable to postpone foreclosure proceedings by the federal government, according to board member James Somerville. Funds are not available to go ahead with the 1984 ski flying event, Somerville said. There definitely will not be a ski flying event in 1984. We do not have the funds to go ahead with the meet. The future is not much brighter in terms of holding meets at Copper Peak if the economic situation continues the way it is, Somerville said. We are not in a position at this time to pay that interest. And that was in September 1st of 1983. Things look pretty bleak for the ski club board and Copper Peak supporters within the area community at the time. But a ray of hope emerged from an unexpected source: the grade school students at St. Sebastian's School in Bessemer. They had written numerous letters of concern to President Reagan, which prompted a visit to the school by Jack Murphy, debt management specialist of the EDA. Rich Brown, then the Daily Globe staff writer, reported on Mr. Murphy's meeting with the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade students of St. Sebastian. The headline read, "EDA official says Peak won't be torn down." Quote, "I don't know who started the talk that Copper Peak was going to be torn down, but that simply was not true," grade school students at St. Sebastian were told this morning. Murphy told the Daily Globe he was sent to the area from Washington to inspect the Western Hemisphere's only ski flying complex and to determine the potential for future repayment of the loan by the ski club. "I met with the students because they had the right to be concerned and deserved an answer to their concerns," Murphy said. Scott Williams told Murphy Copper Peak is important for the economy. Ted Schmaltz said, "If the government tears down Copper Peak, it will cost them more to have it cut, shipped, and stored than the amount of money in the loan. It would be nice if the government would just say, 'You may have your Copper Peak. We will cancel the debt,'" Keith Tadlock said. Murphy said, "If Copper Peak is not successful, then it is a defeat for not only the area, but the EDA as well." Murphy had no doubt in his mind when he left the classroom that the children want to see Copper Peak survive, and they think the government should help. So in 1984, the ski club had to get its financial house in order. Once again, the club went to the community to secure support for its efforts to reconcile the debt problem. The main issues confronting the corporation were presented to the Ironwood Chamber of Commerce. The Ironwood Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors has agreed to study ways in which the Chamber can assist the club in the operation of the Copper Peak. Somerville told the Daily Globe, "We are hoping to get some new blood on the Ski Corporation Board, and we are hoping to get someone from the Chamber." At the annual meeting of the Ski Club on Tuesday, April 10th of '84, steps were taken to improve the financial position of the corporation and were highlighted in the Daily Globe the following day. James Somerville, the president of the Ski Club, said the club owes $15,000 to the area banks and has been able to negotiate the interest rate to 7%. The club also contacted several local financial institutions to which the club owes debentures and has requested the interest and principal be forgiven and considered as a donation. The EDC has received a financial plan from the club for making the annual interest payments on the EDA Copper Peak construction loan. The payments will be made from revenues generated by the summer operation of the chairlift at Copper Peak. Somerville said the ski club is conducting membership drives and had signed up 44 members prior to the meeting and an additional 39 members at the meeting. Somerville said the ski club had to turn down World Cup ski flying meets for '85 and '86 because of a lack of funds. A total of 8 new board members were selected. So 1985 saw progress on the debt being made. The economy started to improve, and this was reflected in increased tourist traffic during the summer-fall season. A number of individuals and businesses holding debentures gifted them to the corporation. Renewed efforts were being made to increase memberships in the ski club. A small payment of $1,000 had been made to the EDA. There was discussion regarding the possibility of holding a meet in 1987. Brian Butler, president of the ski club, suggested the possibility of expanding the scope of the Copper Peak facility. Butler suggested that the club look into setting up a cross-country ski system in conjunction with Copper Peak. If our future plans include making Copper Peak a year-round ski facility, then a cross-country system could fit into those plans. It could be a moneymaker for us. The financial position of the ski club was slowly improving. By the end of the summer-fall season of '85, some 11,000 people visited Copper Peak, an increase of some 30% over the previous season. Based on the increase in the number of visitors this season, it is evident that Copper Peak is a viable regional tourist attraction, bringing the spin-off businesses to motels, restaurants, gas stations, and other services. Brian Butler said at the meeting of the board of directors at the Hurley Holiday Inn in 1985. 1986 was the year of gaining clear title to Copper Peak. The threat of foreclosure was imminent in early 1986. The ski club had submitted a proposal in late '85 or early 1986 to resolve the issue, but that proposal was rejected in a letter from the EDA in February of 1986. In that letter, the EDA said that the debt of almost $300,000 would have to be extinguished within 30 days or the EDA would begin foreclosure proceedings. The EDA had contracted with Snow Engineering of Lyme, New Hampshire, to assess the value of the Copper Peak facility. It is not clear what their findings were, but it seems possible that the report would show that the government would not receive anywhere near what was anticipated if it gained ownership by foreclosure. After all, who would buy a ski flying facility? Realistically, how much could the government expect if the facilities were dismantled? The answers to these important questions may have helped to soften the position of the EDA. Subsequently, the ski club submitted a counter-proposal to the EDA in which the ski club would deed 80 acres of land and pay a stipend of $7,500 to secure outright ownership of the Copper Peak facilities. The exciting news of the EDA's response was reported in the Daily Globe on Friday, April 18, 1986. The headline read, EDA agreement on debt may save ski flying facilities. An official of the Gogebic Range Ski Club received verbal confirmation this morning that the counter-proposal submitted by the ski club for settlement of the Copper Peak question had been accepted by the EDA. We knew this was coming, so we, the ski club board, got together and came up with our counter-proposal, said Jan Weisling, secretary-treasurer of the club. We knew we didn't have any time to waste. This was critical stuff. We were about to lose Copper Peak. Well, the good news of the EDA settlement offer prompted support from several organizations, including the Wolverine Nordic Ski Club and USSA Central Division. There were discussions regarding the holding of a meet in 1988. Arnie Hoppia, vice president of the Wolverine Ski Club, pledged his organization's support. Our groups have gone our separate ways long enough. It's about time to help each other out, he said. The Daily Globe said, quote, the rejuvenation of Copper Peak will help ski flying and ski jumping in general throughout the Central Division. Copper Peak needs all the help it can get. It will cost a lot of money to put on a competition, and Copper Peak needs cooperation from everyone. With the deadline for consummating the settlement with the EDA rapidly approaching on August 15, 1986, the club would go back to the community for support. They did not have the necessary cash on hand and started a fund drive the last week of July to secure the needed $7,500. The junior division of the Wolverine Ski Club got heavily involved in the fund drive initiative by selling ski club memberships and commemorative coins from the inaugural 1970 ski flying event at Copper Peak. Various community organizations were supportive and made substantial donations, as did numerous individuals. And guess what? With donations and new memberships received during the weekend, the ski club went over the top in a fund drive to save Copper Peak. Approximately $8,000 had been received in donations, and more donations are coming in, according to ski club officials. Upwards of $3,000 was collected by members of the Wolverine Ski Jumping Club's junior division, according to Rich Aho, board member. Our youthful jumpers want to keep ski flying facilities here for future use, said Aho. Speaking for the board, Jan Weisling said, the support we received in our fund drive was overwhelming, and we are very encouraged by the response, which makes the future of Copper Peak look bright. By the conclusion of the fund drive to save Copper Peak, some $16,000 had been raised by the ski club due to the overwhelming support and generosity of the community. The extra donations would help to reprofile the deteriorating landing slope. The payment of $7,500 plus the deeds to 80 acres of ski club property to the EDA gave the club clear title to the Copper Peak facilities. One might erroneously conclude that the taxpayers of the USA got shortchanged in the deal. After all, the equity of the settlement represented only about 30 cents on the dollar. The reality of Copper Peak and its facility is that it has been a huge revenue source for not only the federal government, but for state and local government unions as well. One can also include the financial impact of the individuals in the tourist business who benefit directly from visitors attracted to Copper Peak. Here's the true financial impact of Copper Peak as the #1 tourist attraction in the western Upper Peninsula of Michigan. As of the writing of the book, Copper Peak had attracted the average of some 10,000 visitors to the site each year for some 40 years. With each visitor spending $100 a day, that amounts to some $40 million pumped into the local economy in that time frame. A tax rate of 6%, Michigan's current sales tax rate, would generate $2.4 million in tax revenues, nearly 3 times the amount of the federal investment in Copper Peak. The figures we mentioned are very conservative, as a number of seasons following the ski flying events attracted as many as 15,000 visitors. The 10 ski flying events held attracted approximately 12,000 visitors per event, to add to the above figures. Today, visitors spend nearly $200 per day. The minimum tax rate is 10% on individuals, with many paying at the 25% rate. Visitors continue to be attracted to the site nearly every day of the year. The total governmental investment in Copper Peak was about $1 million. One can only conclude that the federal investment in Copper Peak has been one of the best investments ever made. As long as Copper Peak remains viable, it will continue to return tax revenues to government entities and be an important component of the tourist economy. And that's a fact. And here's another fact. We've just ran out of time for this episode. This is your narrator, Dan McMahon, inviting you to join us again for the next episode of The Eagle's Nest. There are several ways to see and hear us. If you have a smart TV or a smartphone or tablet, you can download the YouTube app and use the 4 search terms, Copper Peak Eagle's Nest. Our Copper Peak episodes are there all the time, and the episodes are labeled consecutively and will run sequentially. In other words, when you finish one episode, the next episode will play. Also, you can see and hear episodes on your phone or browser at the following URL: www.youtube.com/@CopperPeak784. All the episodes are labeled. Don't forget to like and subscribe us. It's free, and it won't cost you anything, and it helps us. And as you may know, Copper Peak has a live streaming site with live webcams at our Copper Peak Hill site that you can access by going directly to the live cam at www.twitch.tv/copper_peak. Eagle's Nest episodes play on or near the half hour. The live cam features views of the Copper Peak facility, as well as a view of the surrounding terrain and Lake Superior from atop the Copper Peak Tower, plus news and homemade entertainment and historical narratives by Charlie Supersinski, the author of Soaring with the Eagles, the Copper Peak story on which this narrative is based. We're also on Copper Peak Radio on 102.1 FM at 6:08 a.m. and p.m. and 11:08 a.m. and p.m. Central Time. Copper Peak Radio is a low-power FM station, so you need to be within a few miles from Copper Peak to hear it. Charlie's book is available at the Depot Historical Society Museum and Chamber of Commerce office in Ironwood, and also at the Downtown Art Place in Ironwood. Once again, thanks for joining us here at the Eagle's Nest. See you the next time, and think Copper Peak. Bye now.